A very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to uLaw CPD webinar. Topic for today's session is Trust and General Reconciliation Demystified. This webinar will be entitled for 1 hour of professionalism CPD credits. I will be posting the topic and the attendance link towards the end of the webinar, and I request all of you to hang in there and make a note of it by clicking on the chat window. So do wait until 3 p.m. and I would be posting the attendance link and the topic information. You can take a screenshot of this as well, and this is the topic for today's session, and you can key into your respective Law Society portal to claim 1 hour of professionalism CPD credits. And to get started off, I was just waiting for more folks to join in. I think people are all in. And any which way the session is being recorded, and it will be available on our YouTube platform as early as Monday or Tuesday, and you can all view it over there as well. As every other webinar, we have a little agenda for this webinar. We're going to talk about trust and general reconciliation, not just trust, like I see here, trust and general reconciliation. What is the process? How do you perform reconciliation? What is reconciliation, first of all? What is the process done for? What does it do? And what do you gain out of it? And what does it take to become audit ready? Basically, you know, and I know that we do monthly reconciliations so that we are 100% reconciled with our banks, matching the balances, and ensuring all the transactions are recorded in the books of accounts, making sure that the date, the amount, the particulars, everything is up to date, and you would be able to, smoothly complete the reconciliation. And by doing so, you know your financials are up to date. You know your balance sheet, trial balance, profit and loss, income and expenses. Everything looks clean, because what goes into this reconciliation report is nothing but the transactions that you incur on a day-to-day basis while performing your business activities. Could be a simple expense or an income that you receive for your legal services that was rendered. Could be any expense or a disbursement or an office expense that could have happened from trust or general respectively, and you record them under the respective accounts. And while doing so, you are very careful with adding all the information, the minute of details such as, date, the method of payment, and several other things. So we're going to see all of those in today's webinar, and we're also going to see how you could prepare yourself to be ready for an audit at any time, right? Especially considering that Law Society would, perform spot audit at any time, and you just want to make sure you're ready and you're up for it. And we're going to discuss that little checklist today. What is it that you need to be prepared for to face an audit at any time, right? And of course, we're also going to touch upon certain statements that are relevant for financial management process, and not just audit, but also ensuring that your internal financial status and other things that are being managed. Last but not least, we are definitely going to see a little live demo of how you could do this using uLaw platform. I mean, of course, since I represent uLaw, I would be walking you all through how the reconciliation process takes place in our system. Once again, welcome you all to our webinar, Friday webinar, and the topic for today's session is Trust and General Reconciliation Demystified. I see more people joining in as we get into the webinar mode, but don't panic. I am not sharing any link. I will be sharing the attendance link only in the end. It's easier that way, I felt. And any questions at any time, do not hesitate to use the chat window. Just use the chat window in there to pop in all your questions regarding reconciliations. I would love to answer as much as possible outside of the topic, but just because it's CPD, we would like to confine it to the topic alone. So please do use the chat window to ask any questions, any queries. I will try and answer them during the session, if not towards the end of it. Awesome. So let's start off with little basics. I know it's kind of boring, but trust me, this is what gets you, long way, and this is what is going to help you settle down with a very smooth reconciliation process. Now, what is it? Your accounting system. What accounting system or model are you following? Have you decided whether you're doing it manually or whether you're doing it through a spreadsheet using a simple computer software, or are you planning to purchase a general accounting software, or even more better, if you're using a legal accounting software? So the terminology legal accounting software, as much as it sounds sophisticated, it is one of the most brilliant systems that one could use as a legal professional, because, end of the day, there is a thin line of difference between a general accounting software and a legal accounting software, because obviously the legal accounting software provides you details, or rather provides you information that you would need to submit to an auditor, or to file your law society or annual report, to produce invoices, docketing and other things, produce other documents like statement of accounts, billable time, etc., everything that you would need for your client-facing purposes, or rather client-facing documents, if I could put it that way. And so the bottom line of the story is to understand what are the requirements when it comes to a legal accounting system, and whether you are able to succeed by choosing one of them, and you're able to maintain your records yourself, or you hire someone to do that for you. So whatever you can afford, end of the day, right? But, it is about adding transactions into your books of accounts, making sure that they match your bank, and, you're able to keep good records with all of those transactions that you incur on a daily basis. And whichever system that you're choosing, you must be able to enter them on a daily basis or a weekly basis, whatever you want to, adapt to your, accounting system. So end of the day, you need a software in place, or you need, nowadays, leave alone the legal accounting software, but you can hardly see people doing a manual data entry or using a spreadsheet, because, how many formulas would you use or you come up with? It's quite a bit of headache. You would rather save the time and use the money to purchase a software, a legal accounting software, to do all of this for you. And in turn, you could do your actual legal work, which legal professionals are required to do. So an accounting system is must. Which of it that you are planning to use is completely dependent on whether, a few factors, I would rather say, whether you're a sole practitioner, you are small business, you are, your affordability, your requirement, everything matters. So do come up with one conclusion as to which accounting system are you adapting to. Once you decide on an accounting system, it's pretty easy going forward, because one thing you would do is start adding transactions from day one of your, your business that has been opened, or your practice that has been opened. And I always tell my clients that, I know that you would laugh when I say whether you have a client or not, have a practice management software in place, because, even before we start having income, which is when your first client pays you for the legal fee or a disbursement, whatever. There's always a chance to come up with expenses. And you want to start adding your expenses and start filing taxes. There's so many things that you could do even before you start adding income. So this is one of the reasons why I always recommend a new entrepreneur or a new lawyer or a paralegal into the practice to have or to choose legal practice management, so you can start your accounting procedure from day zero, not even day one, or you can say day -1, whatever. So, when you face your client, which is probably in few days or week, you should be able to be ready with an accounting software that does all of this for you, which is adding information, coming up with, your client intake form and docketing and raising invoices, because only when you raise invoice, you can collect money. And if you're raising an invoice, obviously you have rendered services. So all of these are interlinked. And why is this interlinked to reconciliation? Because data entry. So only if you have a software in place, data entry takes place again. And only if data entry happens, reconciliation is going to happen in time and, of course, in a smooth manner. So it is an accounting procedure, absolutely, that demonstrates line by line what has happened in your bank. Let's say your bank has debit, credit, you have money coming in, money going out, trust, general, respectively. Retainer comes in, you deposit into that client's account. Retainer goes out, of course, mostly from trust to the general. So you invoice and transfer money from trust to the general. So it is an out in trust, it is an in general. Again, this consists of all of those recording of bank statements, all of those transactions that needs to be recorded as per your bank statement. So while this happens, I think it is more of, comparison between the bank statement and your books of accounts. Reconciliation is about comparing line by line what has happened in your bank versus what has happened in your books of accounts. So recording of bank statements and balances and ensuring you have cleared all the outstanding checks. If there is anything that is not being cleared, you do not mark them as cleared. You leave them outstanding, and whether it's a deposit or a withdrawal, you will only clear them when it is actually cleared in the bank. So you are basically replicating what has happened in the bank side of it. That way you would, if there's any bank error, anything that you spot while looking at your bank statement, you would go ahead and try to, enter them right away. So, if there's any bank error, you would want to fix them in the same month so you don't carry them forward. But if it is by any chance, not noticed until, let's say, 1st of August, if you were doing a 31st of July reconciliation, there's something that has happened in 28th of July that was not fixed until you actually saw your bank statements, which was on 5th of August, then you would want to make sure that, you are reversing the transaction from one account to the other account, which is from general to the trust. So here we are. I would like to share a little tip on how you could identify it. Most of the times, bank errors could happen based on two events. One, when the bank actually takes out money from your trust for a simple bank charges or something that they are not supposed to be taking out of trust, but they should be taking out of general. So when that happens, you obviously, one, either ask your bank to reverse it back into trust, and then you ask them to take it out of your general account on the very same day or the next day, at least within the same month. If they do not do it, at least you transfer that money from general to the trust within the same month. Now, if that is done, then there is no question of bank error because you have fixed it in the same month. Hence, the reconciliation is not going to face any issue. But There's another thing to it. I said there are two types of bank errors that can occur. One is when the bank makes a mistake, and the other one is when you make a mistake. If you have by mistake transferred excess amount from trust to the general or from trust to the client, for whatever reason. Now this has to be fixed. Any excess amount or any amount that is not supposed to go out of trust and has gone out of trust, considered as bank error, needs to be fixed by either moving back that money into the trust account by depositing it within the same month. Hence, you would avoid the scenario of bank error. So these are simple tips that you could probably apply at your end. So, bank error is something that you want to at least fix within the within the month, because when you carry forward it, there are chances that when you submit your annual report, there is definitely a box or a line that talks about a bank error, in any of the months, or at least the 31st of December. So please keep an eye on your bank error. One way that I would honestly recommend you all to do is a weekly reconciliation. Now, I know reconciling books on a monthly basis is a headache, but trust me, when you start doing it on a weekly basis, the monthly reconciliation becomes a cakewalk. All that you got to do is just simply click on, a couple of transactions towards the last week of the month and complete the reconciliation if you're following this monthly one, right? So here are a few tips that I wanted to share about, trust, and that was it. Now about general, before I go in here, let me walk you through the actual reconciliation process other than the steps. As you all can see here on the right-hand side, I have a little snippet of, a little trust bank reconciliation. How does it work? Now, on the step one, there is one thing you have to remember is to note down the balance as per the bank statement, which goes on the top. And from that, you reduce all the outstanding checks and you add all the outstanding deposits and you add all the bank errors, if there is anything that was not fixed within the same month. So then you would arrive at the reconciled balance. Now, the outstanding checks are then, seen separately in your reconciliation statement, likewise outstanding deposits, because you have to compare with the actual bank account to see whether it was cleared or not, right? So there's always a list that shows up saying outstanding checks, outstanding deposits. So this will be eventually cleared in the next month, obviously. And then, of course, you have your, activity tracker that shows the trust comparison and other information. So at any time you want to add any information, just have to make sure it is within the same month so you can take action accordingly. All right, now moving on to reconciliation with general account. Now, this is something that you would want to make sure that, it's done on a monthly basis again, because I remember that not everyone would have, not everyone would be doing their general account reconciliations, only because they think that, trust is what needs to be compliant and not the general, right? But it is actually not true, because you would need to be compliant even for your general account. That's what Law Society says, because reconciliation for general is also part of your Law Society requirements. And hence, over here we have what is part of this reconciliation for general, not as, I won't say complicated, but not as elaborate as trust. You don't have the bank error concept over here, because general is just basically recording all the transactions that has happened in your general account. Incoming wires, and then trust transfers are anyways recorded when you're transferring money from trust to the general. Client payments, office expenses, client expenses, anything that accounts as part of, general account. You will have to record them, ensuring it matches with the bank statement, recording all of the outstanding deposits, withdrawals, and you're able to compare it with, the general account bank statement, and then come up with the reconciliation. So you will again note down the closing balance for that particular month as per the bank statement. Add that with outstanding deposits and reduce with outstanding withdrawals, because any day the outstanding withdrawals, once it gets cleared, is not going to be added to the actual total. So you have to reduce it from the bank balance. So closing balance, reduce outstanding withdrawals, and add outstanding deposit gives you the reconciled account balance. You also have outstanding withdrawals or payments that are generally notified at the reconciliation statement at the bottom, just like the trust. Likewise for outstanding deposits or receipts too. Moving on to how to prepare for reconciliation. One thing that you need to keep in mind is the date of reconciliation. For which period you're doing the reconciliation is important. Now, you would be doing it for a separate period that, is not done earlier. So make sure the date of reconciliation matches with the bank statement. You have the right bank statement in hand. That's important. Also, knowing the balance as per the bank statement as per end of that month is again important. And clearing any deposits or withdrawals one by one, ensuring that you have left all of the outstanding uncleared, outstanding deposits, outstanding withdrawal uncleared. So step 1 is to know the date. Step 2 is to know the balance. Step 3 is to know the transactions that you have to clear. So how do you do that? Obviously, take out your bank statement, go line by line, make sure, first of all, you've recorded the transactions into the books of accounts. Some could be outstanding, which has not been cleared, like a client payment you have gotten to deposit into the bank. So don't clear it in uLaw. You would have recorded it in uLaw, but you would have forgotten to deposit the check in your bank. So what do you do then? Just leave it uncleared, like you see here on the picture. And besides that, you would also have some uncleared payments, any withdrawals. Just leave them all uncleared, and only then you would be able to see the reconciliation button pop up. Now, in uLaw, we also have a facility to do a preview. There's a little preview button right beside cancel. All that you have to do is, let's say you're in the process of reconciling. You start reconciling, and once you have reconciled, you would actually see that there are a couple of transactions missing, or you would want to add them back. So you don't want to actually leave out this page and then come back and do everything from the beginning, right? So then you would just do a preview, and once you're done, you would just be able to, complete the reconciliation instead of just preview. So these are some important points that you would want to remember when you are actually doing a reconciliation. Now, how will this process help you to keep your financial management audit ready all the time? Definitely, because you're able to catch the errors day one. And anything that does not match your bank account, you're able to save them, you're able to rectify them, and So whenever you're doing a reconciliation, it catches all the transactions that you have in your accounting system that do not match with your bank records. That's point number one. So anything that you have added could be, something like a date mistake that you have made or an amount mistake that you have made. Maybe even the bank account. It's something that you would have received into general account by mistake. You have recorded it as a retainer instead of a client payment. So you want to just make sure that you rectify them all during this reconciliation process. Obviously, by coming out of the reconciliation process, going into that respective client's account or matter and then updating them and then coming back into the reconciliation. This is where you actually use the preview option, right? So while that happens, the other one is that you catch all bank transactions that you forgot to enter into the accounting system, right? Like, you would have received a check, you would have deposited it, but you would have not entered it into uLaw at all. Actually, the contrary of what we spoke earlier. While doing this, again, these are two issues that generally comes into picture when, the accounting system doesn't work. Now, this is one. The other one is if you're reconciling month by month, then you're able to spot a few things like, your system is up to date. You know that whenever you have an audit or whenever you're having to pull out a document based on what does this client owe you or what does this, any client owings or any client let's say invoice to date or something like that, invoice balance report, everything is basically up to date in your system, that any document that you're trying to generate would actually be up to date. This could be for your internal review or external, like audit purposes, or for filing your taxes with CRA or your HST requirements, GST, PST, whatever, based on, your sales or rather, in this case, services rendered. Analytics, not many of us do it. It's very unfortunate, but one of the most beautiful, I would say, features of these legal accounting systems is to get information on where do you stand as a legal practice firm. And this program, rather any program that would actually give you, if it gives you something called insights, like how uLaw does, it's great. You'll be able to analyze where do you stand as a firm, what do you have to do next, what are your next steps. So all of those part of analytics that, the accounting system can throw you with numbers, but if it has to be accurate, again, reconciliation is the only way you would actually start seeing the accuracy in reports. Now, while saying that, you also, end of the day, are able to record all the transactions that basically impacts your business, and you're also able to understand where you stand and all of those with a little peace of mind, saying that, okay, now you know that where you stand, what do you do, what needs to be done, and take necessary action. All right. So that being said, now as part of reconciliation, what else do you think you would need to do? How much time do you have to be spending managing all of this? Now, I know it is pretty, hectic doing, audit ready all by yourself. But over here, we have, again, uLaw program with a bunch of Law Society documents or Law Society compliance documents that would help you to do everything yourself. And all that you need to do is just simply have all the documents that you need downloaded, and the reconciliation is complete with all of the Law Society requirements. Just download them, and you can submit it for audit, or you can keep it for your internal review and keep going from there. So once that is done, you would actually know that you're not spending too much time, because once things are streamlined, you are able to keep an eye on reconciliation processes And, the maintenance you need to know for each of the record would be pretty simple. All that you have to do is do the double entry and make sure that all the records are up to date. And sometimes you just have to be ensuring that all of the documents and transactions are recorded under the respective accounts. And you also have matter management in place. So when you are recording information under the respective client accounts, let's say this client paid you a retainer, the client was serviced, rather services were rendered to the client, invoice was raised, and money was transferred from trust to the general. Anything that was pending was also then received by them, and received from them, and you've entered all of those under the matter. Translating the matter management workflow to seamless accounting is the key to save time over here. So whatever I said in the last couple of minutes, I would obviously be showing you under the live demo. So do not worry about, if it was something that didn't reach you, or, if it was a little complicated, but I will be walking you through this part. So all that I'm trying to mention here is that when you add transactions into the matter, take it as a workflow and enter it one by one. So end of the day, you will be able to complete all the steps, and that will in turn be helpful for you to avoid any errors and reconcile in a very simple manner. Now, automatically, all of these ledgers and journals of matter workflow keeps connected to accounting data, and bank records are aligned as well. And this will in turn help you to activate, or rather, reconcile your bank account respectively for trust and general. Now, whether all of these are doable at your own end, without a legal practice management software, I doubt it. I don't know. I cannot comment on it, but I don't know if it will be as efficient as using a legal accounting software. So I always recommend people to go for a legal accounting software that will minimize their time, maximize their efforts into these ledgers, journals, reconciliation reports, client, all of those client reports that you need, invoices, retainer letters, receipts, whatnot. So maintaining financial records and bank records in alignment makes reconciliation so simple. And finally, it's all about compliances, ease of use, accountability, and analytics. So, just make sure if you are not using this software, give it a shot, give it a try, and you definitely not feel, the pinch of using the program, because end of the day, I know it's money spent, but it is also money saved by being more efficient and keeping functionality simple. End of the day, reconciliation and other reports are prepared in less than no time, right? So this is probably what I wanted to show you all in my presentation, but I'm also going to walk you all through this in a little live demo. So just bear with me while I pull up my uLaw account and show you all how it works. So this is my practice account, okay? So all that I'm going to do is probably show you all how the matter management is connected to accounting and reconciliation, and in turn, extracting reports that will need for the Law Society, these journals, ledger, how the data gets transcribed into these journals, ledgers, then later into reconciliation reports. This is what we're going to see within the next 15, 20 minutes. And of course, all the reports and the reconciliation processes. So any questions so far? I'm going to take a quick 1-minute break to see if you've all posted any questions. I am hoping everyone is able to hear me well. And so far, if no questions and no comments, I'm hoping you're all enjoying the program. If not, do let me know in the chat window if you have any topic or subtopic rather that you would like me to repeat. I would be happy to do so. It's very important that you are able to follow the reconciliation process, and this is one thing that will help you to be up to date with your books of accounts and be audit ready, and always help you with staying compliant with Law Society. Right now here, I am in contacts. Let's say I just pick a random file here, okay? So I would go, or I can actually, in fact, create a new file. So let's create a new file, okay? I have, maybe this client reached out to me through advertisement. I have the email in place and save it. I know it's the reconciliation, but I was still. Oh, nice question. How do we account for disbursements specifically related to a matter? This is part of our disbursements demystified CPD, which is coming up in another couple of weeks, but I am going to also show you as part of our matter management right now. Thank you for that question. Pretty useful for others, I hope. I am just going to open a new matter, keep it simple. I'm going to enter the traffic ticket as one of the matter titles, and it's a POA. If there's any file number, enter that. Quote file number, any matter description. Try to keep them all. I know this is not, again, part of reconciliation, but what really helps reconciliation to be smooth is complete information. Don't leave anything hanging incomplete, and that will in turn destroy your time trying to figure out which file, what is this, always have cross-indexing, and try to keep things as plain as possible. That would help you. So yeah, this is must for you to enter in, and once you do that, go and start off. Let's say you have a little legal fee and it was a flat rate, you add in that. And let's assume that this client is going to give you a little retainer. So which means there's money coming into your trust account. It is a deposit. So for that, you're going to go into disbursements retainer tab, and you're going to add a little new retainer. Let's say, for an instance, that you had provided a retainer letter with a $500 that they would like to, that you'd like to get from them. Let's say that the client actually email transferred you, and that you're also going to enter their name, provide with a receipt, and apply. So all of this will actually show up on the journal ledger, the reconciliation document, in turn making it much simpler, because when you actually cross-verify with your bank statement, your bank statement will show the Marcus had transferred $500, and it will actually show that little transfer reference number that I also entered in here, that JKH or IKH. And this is what will help you to basically do the reconciliation much faster than you actually thought would be, right? So now to answer the question about the disbursement, under a specific client's matter, there's something called as a disbursement tab. You click on add new disbursement, and then there are different ways in which disbursement can be done. Okay, I'm not going too much in detail, but you have to go through the list here to understand actually how you had done, or vice versa, how it was done. You come in here and choose that option. Let's say you did it from trust, then you choose saying paid from trust, and say there was a $200 you had trust had 500, you dispersed 200 through EFT or through certified check, and this was to the, was sent to the, maybe your court filing fee or something, right? And you had paid it to courthouse, and you are entering as much as information possible in here. You even want to print a little check. If it was check, not a certified check. Certified checks gets printed from the bank, but let's say check, then you can even print a check from uLaw. So this is if you are doing it from trust, but we have other option for disbursements. If you're doing it from general, if you're doing it through prepayment, from general actuals, there are all of this that you have, you can see, and this is what needs to be done. So pay disbursements from general actuals, you have the item name. Let's say, for example, the item name is, okay, I would like to say transcript translator, maybe. I would say I paid $200 for them from my general account. Okay, this is through email transfer, and you can save it. So as simple as that, you had actually paid them 200 plus taxes. Now, what is owing from your client? Everything entered in here. All that you have to do is simply click on invoice, complete the invoice, so you can transfer what is there in the trust account to you. And you can produce this invoice to your client and ask them to pay you any balance. So now there is deposit that came into trust for 500, and you've already removed 200, and you're going to remove another 300 by moving that money from trust to the general. Okay, while that was done, just go back in there and complete the transfer. This has to be literally matching to your bank, like, the date, the amount, everything. Complete the transfer. Go open it back, click on question mark, transfer. Transfer. Okay. This is again going to match with your bank, all the reference number that I entered, and you can download a Form 9A for your future references. This is also part of being audit ready. Reconciliation alone is not sufficient. Making sure you have your Form 9As, making sure you have your trust journals, general journals, all the journals, the other law society compliance documents that we saw under, that we saw under the, the accounting. I think it was in one of the slides that I was showing you all that talked about, the law society compliance documents, the two ledgers, 4 journals, and 5 other documents that you would need to be, keeping, actually 6 other documents, including trust reconciliation, expense book, fee book, general book, intermatter trust transfers. What is not in here is the Form 9A, which is what I was showing you all. So once you do that, what is remaining in this matter is to collect what is pending from the client, which is the client owing. So for the same, you're going to click on the question mark. You're going to click on payments. Let's say it is $491. Again, the client email transfer to you. And you have the reference number, entered it in there. Please make sure to keep all your tabs complete, receipt generated, and this matter is completely done for now. So you got the money in, the best part to verify matter-wise what has happened in today's bank is click on statements, go to Trust Plus General, download this. One of my favorite if you are doing daily reconciliations. Trust me, some people do that too. And it's so hard making sure whatever money came in has gone out, and then, you have the amounts entered in there, right? Everything has been captured well with the reference numbers. Do you see how complete this ledger looks to you? And this is what gets transferred, or rather transferred into your, your reconciliation documents. So while I'm looking at the reconciliation document, you're gonna click on accounts. Let me show you all how it looks today. So I go into little reconciliation, let's say trust. Since this is our playground account, it could take a little time to come up, but always start off, remember the 3 steps. Start off with the date, enter the bank balance as per that date, start clearing the transactions. 3 steps. These are 3 steps that you need to remember. And then the 4th step automatically happens. And the 5th, 2. So 4 and 5 is automated if 1, 2, 3 are perfectly done at your end. Number 1, enter the date. Number 2, enter the balance. Number 3, start clearing as per the bank statement, what only you see in the bank statement, not that everything you see here. Some could be outstanding deposit, outstanding withdrawal. Don't clear them like you see here. They're unchecked. They're not blue, right? And then the reconciled balances, which is in the step 4, will automatically match with your bank statement balance. And, whatever is there in the reconciliation pop-up happens too. So let me close this to show you all the transactions that I just entered. And it'll take a minute or 2 for it to show up. But the best part is right now when I go and see, I will see, number 1, the deposit of 500 that came in. Number 2, the deposit of 200 that was taken out to pay the court filing fee. Number 3, the $300 that was removed from trust, rather moved from trust to the general. These are the 3 things I'm going to see here under the trust reconciliation. But when I go into general, I would see 2 transactions. 1 would be the $300 that came into general from trust. 2, the $491 that came into general directly as applied payment. So let's say I'm trying to reconcile for the month of July. So I will then add in the July date. Then let me show you, I will go to the end to show you the 2 or 3 transactions that happened. Okay, the $500 I got in, the $300 that was transferred. There's the $200 that I actually paid to the government, which I should see here, which is also here, Marcus Haynes, 200 filing fee. So everything in here. So you will clear those transactions that you only see in the bank statement. Make sure that you add the date as per the, bank statement, the amount as per the bank statement again, balance rather as per the bank statement, ending balance. Now many of us get confused and add the opening balance. No, it's not the opening balance, but it's the closing balance. And once that's done, then you would be able to enter the balances, clear the transactions that you see here. And then you will be able to come up with the reconciliation button automatically. Okay, while that happens, let me quickly take you to the general account to show you the general reconciliation. Okay, same way, date, step 1, balance as per the bank statement, step 2. Of course, if you're in a general account, you choose the bank, whether it's credit card or, general account. And then once that's done, you can actually complete the transactions by clearing them. And over here, I now have 2 transactions. One was the $300 that I had transferred from trust to the general, and 2 is this particular client payment that you received from the general account directly from the client. So it'll take a minute again for me to show up those transactions, but in the meantime, trust in general are very similar type of reconciliations. The steps are very similar, like, you enter the date, you enter the balance, you clear the transactions as to what was cleared in that month, all of those. But with trust, one thing you have to be really careful with is the bank error concept. Now, like we already discussed, bank error can be of two types. One, you have mistakenly made an error, which is also called as bank error. And the other one is when the bank makes an error itself by moving money from trust without, like if it's not for any client purposes or something. So basically any excess amount or any amount rather that was not supposed to be moved out of trust, it has been moved out of trust, needs to be put back into trust. If it is not fixed in the same month, if it is fixed in the same month, then there's typically no action to be taken. But otherwise, you have to show it as a bank error and fix it in the subsequent month. Try and not carry it forward for more than a month, because then it becomes a hassle for you to keep a track of it. Quickly to show you the two transactions that came into the general account. One was there was one translator fee, which was the disbursement that I showed, the 200 plus taxes. And then the other one was the 300 that came into the deposit of general account. And then the other one was the 491. So these are the three transactions that happened in my general account. So 300 trust transferred was withdrawal in trust. So over there you saw in withdrawal, over here you're seeing it in deposit. Client payment of 491 that came into the bank directly. And then the other one is the 226, that was the translator fee for that disbursement for this particular account. Now, when you obviously do all of this, then you will be able to complete the transactions and okay. So over here, just showing you all one more thing is once you're done with the reconciliation, very religiously click on compliance, monthly compliance, and clear off the transactions that you would see here. Intermatter trust transfer, any of these, not transactions, sorry, statements that you would want for yourself. Client's trust, client's general. Okay, just have to simply download. Let's say just for today's, you would want to download to see what has happened. Okay, so all the money that came in, I collected a $500, and then there's a 200 that was dispersed directly. There was a trust transfer that happened for $300. Also, when you click on the general, you would see very similarly the transactions recorded. So the best part of recording a transaction that is purely complete is that you're able to here it is showing again what amount you had invoiced for and how much was transferred from trust. These two were transferred from trust, the 300, and how much was directly paid into general account. Now, what you see in the ledgers and journal gets, recorded or rather captured into the respective reconciliation documents, making your reconciliation process very easy and simple. And again, this is why I always say, the reconciliation is not that difficult. It is super simple if you are someone who would be following these steps religiously, trying to make efforts to enter them, match with the bank statements. And trust me, it shouldn't take you more than an hour for one bank account on a monthly basis if you are someone who, record transactions at least on a weekly basis, if not daily. And try doing your weekly reconciliations, try breaking it into pieces so that way, your month-end reconciliations are super simple, and it shouldn't actually take more than 10 minutes when you actually break it to weekly. That is why it says should it take more than 10 minutes or 3 hours or what. So here we are to end of the webinar. I would like to share the link with you all for today's attendance. I hope everyone enjoyed. I hope, I was able to communicate all of those that Law Society has been, saying about reconciliation. So do let us know if you have any questions. I'm going to be here for another few minutes. So if you have any questions, do let us know here. And I think in a couple of weeks, or rather, the following week is a payment integration webinar, and the next week after that is another CPD. So I would request all of you to, whether it's CPD, non-CPD, try and attend it, because, end of the day, these are super informative for your running your practice, and they're pretty good. So I'm trying to share the link and the topic here on the chat window. Do make a note and give your attendance, and we will be able to take a call in case you have any issue. When you come back, we would be able to support saying you had attended the CPD with us. So, you can even in fact copy this link and post it somewhere in your notes. So this is the link that we would be using every week on week for CPD sessions. The topic for today's session is Trust and General Reconciliation Demystified. It is entitled for 1 hour of professionalism CPD credits, not substantiative. We don't do substantiative. And this is it. Any questions at any time, do let us know. We'll be happy to, reach out to you on your email. So you just have to email us on support@uLawPractice.com. I'm sharing that email ID as well over here. And we also have our chat channels, so you can also reach out to us over there. We have our LinkedIn and Instagram and other, platforms where we keep sharing very useful information. So we would highly recommend you to follow us on these platforms. And, any questions, we would always encourage you to use support@uLawPractice.com. I'm also sharing other useful links for you and some other resources, including our YouTube channel link, our Instagram link, and our 15-day free trial link, and most importantly, refer a friend link. Do refer your friends, help them benefit from these CPD sessions and other sessions that would be helpful for them, and we'll be happy to contact them and take it from there. Would like to thank each and every one of you attending here, showing your support, and being here in spite of a Friday afternoon. I know it's not easy, but thank you all for joining us today, and I look forward to meeting you all in the next webinar for payment integration. And until then, have a good week and good weekend. Take care. Thank you.